This stretching routine will give you an immediate boost to hip mobility and help reduce lower back pain. We're going to be combining end range strength with static stretching in this beginner-friendly routine. In today's stretching session, we're going to be focusing on external rotation and internal rotation for the hips, using end range contractions and some static stretching. So let's get into it. We always start with a little bit of mobility. Now, if you need to, you can get yourself like a broomstick to put under your heels. So if you have a broomstick and you just squat on that, you'll be able to squat down like I do here. So from here, we're just going to push the knee out a few times and then gently push it in and push it back out, back in and out again. Change sides. Push that knee out a few times, then in, back out, in and out. Nice work. Okay, now what we're going to be doing, so the way we do an end range contraction, before we work the external rotators of the hip, so this externally rotated position here, what we're going to do is do an end range contraction for the internal rotators. So it puts our hip into external rotation and we're contracting the muscles in here, okay? So what I'm doing here is, you can lean back a bit, knee up, externally rotate like this as much as you can, and then contract as hard as you can. So you're contracting the muscles that pull you further that way, okay? Go as hard as you can for 10 seconds. 4, 7. Nice work. And now we go straight into our external rotation stretch. So we're going to go in this 90-90 position, lean forward as much as you can until you feel the stretch in the glutes. If you feel it in the front knee, back it off. You don't want to feel it in the knee. Once you feel it in the glutes a bit, you can go this way. So if I push that way, that will intensify the stretch more as well. Okay, and we just play around with it. We're going to hold for 30 seconds. So when you hold a stretch, so you can get improvements in flexibility with just 30-second holds. Holding for longer than 30 seconds produces diminishing returns. So what does work better is by doing more sets. So we're going to do multiple sets, but we're only going to do 30 seconds per hold, okay? And I'm actually just going to get a timer so that I can remember to time these and I don't mess that up. I'll just turn that on. Okay, now we do the other leg. And we always do, you do one leg and then you go straight into the stretch, because that's the way that this hacking of the nervous system, which I'll explain in a minute, that's how it works so well. We go with less than 10 seconds break. So here we go. Pull as hard as you can for 10 seconds. All right, now we go into this externally rotated position. Let me get this stopwatch fired up. Okay, and we're going to lean forward. And then once you feel the stretch in the glutes, push over to the side like this. So you're getting a really good stretch. So the reason why this works so well, what happens is that when you go to your end range and then you contract the muscle in its shortened range, you're creating a very strong contraction in the shortened state of the muscle, which has the potential to trigger the Golgi tendon organ, which basically shuts down ability to contract muscles because it thinks that there's a risk of injury. And that response, if we hopefully can trigger that, then when we go straight into a stretch like this on the opposing muscle system, so in this case the glutes, then you can get a really instant increase in flexibility. It works really, really well. Just going to put this timer on. There we go. All right, so now what we're going to do, now we're going to do the opposite. So now now we're trying to get better at internal rotation. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're in this internally rotated position. And by lifting this foot, okay, we can try and go further into internal rotation. Now, if that's too hard for you, if you can't do that, you can go to this position here and internally rotate like this and basically do the opposite of what you just did. But let's try and see if you can do it. If you can't do it, if you can't get your foot off the ground at all, just do the easier version, okay? And the further you sit up, the harder it is, so the further you go away from the foot, the easier it is. All right, here we go. So we're going to lift this foot as hard as we can for 10 seconds, but keeping the knee on the ground. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now what we do, we just put that foot back down, and now we just lean back to increase the stretch. Okay, so we're thinking of, we want to avoid this arch in our back. We want to keep our belly in, so the movement's coming from the pelvis. And you just come back far enough until you feel that stretch on the inside of your groin. Now, I often get told in my videos on YouTube, you know, can you dull this down? Can you make a beginner-friendly version? But the truth is, internal and external hip rotation for me are my worst stretches. I have something called femoral acetabular impingement, and it dramatically reduces especially my internal hip rotation, but also hip extension, so hip flexors are tight, and also external rotation. So I don't have great internal and external rotation here. So I dare say that what I'm doing, even for people with not a lot of flexibility, will hopefully be able to do what I'm doing here. Remember, if you can't do this, we're going to lift the leg, and we're going to try to keep the knee and the femur still, and we're going to try and internally rotate and go as hard as you can there, okay, if you can't do what I'm about to do here. All right, from here, so we get into position, knee on the ground, lift that foot as hard as you can for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! All right, and now we just stay in this same position and pull back until we hopefully feel the stretch on the inside of the groin here. Now, I hope you can see that when I'm counting those end range contractions, they are really kicking my butt. Like you can see, I'm like tensing up. It's like a hard effort. This is relaxing. And let's define that. You know, when we stretch, when we do a static stretch like this, we do want to go to a point of discomfort. So it's uncomfortable for me, but I'm not going, oh my God, and I'm not contracting or anything. I'm relaxing my body and I'm just breathing, okay? So the point of discomfort is good, but we don't want to go to the point of pain, okay? And people often ask, well, how do I know the difference? It takes practice. You've got to practice. But if it hurts the next day more to get into the position, you probably went to the point of pain. Okay, we're going to go back and we're going to do the first one again. But we're going to, from here, so we'll come up. And now go, contract. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice work. But now we're going to do a different stretch. So what we're going to do, put this foot over the knee, like that. Okay, so the stretch that we just did the end range contraction on goes over the knee, and then we reach through and we grab onto our shin, lay back and pull the shin towards our chest. Okay, if you're more flexible, you grab closer to the ankle. If you're less flexible, you grab up closer to the knee, and we hold for 30 seconds. So what we do, it's always this end range contraction first of the antagonistic muscle. So muscles are arranged antagonistically to each other, which means opposing. So the antagonistic muscles here to the glutes are the external rotators, the muscles that pull you deeper into external rotation. So, and that's what we're contracting. And then we go into a passive stretch, static stretch. Okay, so from here, we're going to get in position, come up, pull into external rotation, and contract as hard as you can. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Okay, then we lay down. So that was the leg we just worked. Cross that foot over the knee. Okay, and then reach through, grab onto your shin, interlock your fingers. If you're more flexible, you grab lower, and then try to just lean back. And just by leaning back, hopefully if you've grabbed low enough, leaning back with straight arms is going to pull the stretch on. I can feel a really nice stretch there while I'm doing this. And the 30 seconds begins from the moment that you lay down and get into that stretch. Okay, I'm going to go for a little bit longer. And what we're going to do here by doing just a few sets, so if you can do 5 minutes accumulated total on one muscle group in a week of static stretching in 30-second stretches, then that's enough to see some real improvement in flexibility. So break that up, 2 sets a day, that's a minute, 5 days a week, there's your 5 minutes. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to be doing 2 sets on each of these muscle groups. So from here, you're going to lift that leg up and we're going to internally rotate and go as hard as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing again. This time we're going to try and go a little bit further. So come down, and if you can, go back on that elbow. Honestly, people that have done no stretching at all, internal and external hip rotation is one of those things that some people just having naturally incredibly a lot more mobility than what I've got. So a lot of people can just lay with their back flat on the ground without having done much work. That's not me. So if that's you, you can do that. So I've trained with people that can barely touch their toes, can't even come fractionally close to the middle splits or the front splits or a back bridge, and I can do all those things. But they just kick my butt when it comes to internal and external hip rotation. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get in position, lift this leg. Okay, internally rotate it, get to that end range. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice work. Okay, and then we get here. Lean back and just go to wherever's comfortable. So if you can do what I'm doing here, easy enough, the next step would be both elbows on the ground, and then the next step from there would be laying flat with your back on the ground. So just keep holding, breathe, relax. Uncomfortable is good. Having to hold your breath and feeling like it's really painful and you've got to stop any minute, not good. When you do the end range contractions, if you feel like you're cramping or you're going to cramp, that's actually good. You really should be going as hard as possible on the end range contractions, but when you do the passive stretching like this, it is, yeah, definitely not. You can really hurt yourself. If you want to do a full 20-minute mobility routine, which is the best way to get started as a beginner, building the habit is the most important thing when you're a beginner, and you need something that gives you quick wins, that makes you feel good and that you can do easily daily. And you can get that if you click or tap the screen there and go to unitygym.com. And if you want to just join in with me on another one of these little routines here, you can also click that video there. I'll see you in the next workout.